right, guys, welcome back. So now that we've got all the panels pretty much repaired, I still got to do some repairs to them. Once we get them starting to fit in here and, you know, tuck them, do a little tweaking here and there and whatnot. But today what we're going to do is, you can see all these dark spots here in the quarter panel. Figure out where my hand's at in the dark spots here. So those dark spots are where the wheelhouse, when it was tubbed, was welded to the quarter panel on the inside. And if you run your hand over it, it's a little wavy. It's not exactly perfectly smooth. So there's a few areas that shrunk and stretched. So what I'm going to do is first clean this panel off of rust, you know, especially in those areas. And then we'll do a little bit of hammered, very light hammer dolly work to kind of shrink them back up a little bit. And then we got to do some other repairs in here, and I'll kind of flip the camera around and show you some of the other stuff we got to work on in this video. So one of the things we got to do is, there's a bunch of little pecker tracks here where there must have been some small holes or something. So we need to, you know, grind these down smooth. There's, I think a low spot right here. So we'll grind this down, see what's going on. Maybe have to do a little hammer dolly work there. Again, here's these, you know, spots, and you can feel, you know, some high and low spots in these areas by hand. I can't really show them to you, but right here is definitely, you know, a low spot and a high spot. Whoops, get my hand. You know, this back here doesn't feel so bad. There's a spot there. You know, these don't feel too shabby. Like I said, right through here, there's definitely a spot. And then where they, you know, welded a lower quarter skin onto up here, you can see they started to grind it, and there's, you can see the mismatch in the quarter panel here. I don't know if I'm going to slice this here, cut it, and then pull it out, and then try to re-weld this a little bit so it's a little more flush. So we got to fix this, and we'll grind this down a little bit more, see, you know, what we can do here to make this more of a nice gradual contour. And then we got to work on this because, you know, the wheel tub came further back, and this piece actually extends more forward to attach to the wheelhouse in this area. So I got to decide if I'm going to, I got to take like this little end cap off and decide if I'm going to replace this whole piece here. You know, that's, I think, like $60, $70, $80, maybe $100. It's actually, I don't know if I can show you, but it's, you know, this piece that goes front to back that would need to be either repaired or replaced. So it can, again, attach to the wheelhouse here. And then I got to figure this out because, you know, the wheelhouse welds to some material here, and I got to kind of cut some of this out and take a look at the other one, because you know, this panel should come out here, and then, you know, I should probably go outside and I can show you what I mean. But basically, you know, the rocker area here on the inside, some of that was cut out, and I gotta, you know, kind of put that back to normal. Same goes over there, you know, where it was cut out. I gotta figure out how to put it back to normal. There's also holes over there, which I'll go over and show you here in just a minute. All right, guys, so wheel back here, you can see I've kind of started cleaning this panel off. What I'm using is one of these guys here on low speed. So I've got, you know, my speed controller on my angle grinder with one of these kind of deals here. Just kind of taking my time and cleaning it off. And if you kind of look here, you'll see the high and low spots. You'll see right here are low spots. These are high spots, the shiny areas there, a little high spot there, high, 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 not so bad with these. And then you can see now a little clearer, right? All the little pecker tracks from, you know, when the previous owner kind of welded, I'm assuming some little, I don't know. Anyway, welded up some spots there. You know, looks like I need to do a little something there. It looks like that's where the wheelhouse is coming down, you know, down. So I'm going to clean this whole quarter panel off, and then we'll wipe it down good, and once I get it all, the initial rust layer kind of cleaned off, I'll put a fresh one of these on, go over it again, kind of clean it, and then we'll wipe her down. And then we'll hit it with the, flap wheel, or something. Just, try not to put too much heat in the panel, knock those areas down so they're nice and smooth. And then we'll come back and figure out a plan of action. All right, guys, so we got the whole panel cleaned off here. Let's show you some more unhidden damage. So if you notice, right, dimple, 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 this whole area here is a low spot. The body line here feels good, so that's not a problem. But we gotta figure out how to hammer dolly this so it's, a whole lot better condition than what it is. Of course, there's our stuff again, but also right here is like a little dimple and a crease here in the quarter panel. So we'll have to see what we can do to get that out. If you can kind of see it, right here's the kind of the little crease. And then this is, oh my gosh, guys, this is just all kinds of wavy here. I don't even know what to do about this. We'll grind it down a little bit and we'll see what happens here. We'll just take our time, be very careful with the heat. See what happens here and see if we can salvage it. So this obviously is gonna take probably a skim coat of filler, but we'll see what we can do to, keep this body line, because this body line, right, it's supposed to be nice and flat and, curved. And right now it is far from that. So I guess we'll start grinding that off. You know what I might do, guys? Let's go to the other side. This is probably going to turn into, let's learn how to do hammer and dolly work and get all this figured out video versus fixing, all the stuff that's missing underneath to get the wheel houses. That may be another video now. So let's figure out, let's go ahead and strip the other side. We'll wipe this panel down good, and then learn how to do some simple hammer dolly work there. And then, yeah, I don't know what to say, guys. I'm pretty disappointed in how this looks, and I imagine the other side's going to be just as bad, with how much damage there is to this factory panel. But, it's one of those things where I don't want to replace the factory panels because it's not in the budget right now. But let's see what we can learn. All right, guys, so we're out here working on the driver's side quarter panel because this is the better quarter panel, believe it or not. As you saw in the few pictures, right, we've got rust area here. There's like a pinhole somewhere over here. I'm not even going to talk about what we got to do in this area yet and what I need to do in this area yet. We're going to get this quarter panel straightened out. So I'm going to grind this down a little bit tonight, start working on it, see what it looks like. What I think's going on, if you look at a few of these spots like here and here, what happened is this is where he welded the Pro Street tub, to the quarter panel. And what I think it happened is, because I feel on the back side of it, it's nice and smooth, where I ground it down the weld. So this is where he blew through the quarter panel when he welded it. So you can see these kind of little spots. So what I did is I took just some hand files, and just hand filed these down. You can still feel them slightly. So what I'm going to do is probably hit it with like a shrinking wheel a little bit, maybe just a little bit of a slapper, and then we'll come back and just kind of touch these up. I did buy a shrinking wheel, and I'll kind of go over what I bought and kind of show it to you. And I'm going to learn how to use it. Just like you guys are saying, here's a spot there. So we're just going to clean this up. And like I said, let me grind this down and I'll show you the progress. All right, guys, so just a quick update. Got it ground down. I'm going to definitely need to come in through here and do a little welding and then grind this down a little smoother. This is just off a hair. Do a little touch up here so we can get that to smoothen out better. If you notice right here, I'm gonna have to re-weld this area. I may come in here with my TIG, you know, and just touch this up a little bit, just, you know, put a little bit more metal in there and then grind that smooth. Same with some of this down here, just kind of touch it up a little bit. This panel is, you know, a little wavy, so I'm gonna touch this panel up, grind her as smooth as we can get her, and then it is hammer and dolly time. You know, and the shrinker, see what we can do to try to get this panel as, you know, smooth as we can. You know, not only this way, but this way, you know, so yeah, she's definitely going to need a skim coat of filler. So I'm hoping to keep the amount of filler as little as possible, but there's, you know, an obvious ridge here, and I got to go out to feel my original panels. Let me rephrase that, the Tempest panels, just to feel if there's, you know, how they compare to this. So guys, I just shared with you a bunch of pictures, and I wish I had taken some before pictures, but you know, I've got this now pretty darn good. I mean, you can, there's just a small little something there, but not bad. This is really good as well. Just a little bit low right here still. This area I'm struggling with. It's high, and you know, it's basically, this is the transition from where they welded the, you know, this panel to this panel. So I need to shrink this down a little bit more and get a little better transition in this area. You know, this is starting to come around. You can still feel the you know, that it's like a drop off. It should be a nice smooth transition here. You shouldn't really feel anything. I went out to the other quarter panels, you know, there's still just a little waviness, not that bad now. This low spot feels really good. There's just a little bit maybe right here. This is a little low right here yet. Still got to work that up. And then this low spot feels real good. And again, just working this transition, you know, so it's smoother. I need to come back in and weld a few spots. I kind of ground down a little too far. So what I want to do is kind of get this transition better first, and then come back in, weld up just a few little spots here and there, you know, file them down, something. I don't want to put a lot of heat and ground through the metal again, you know, like I did by accident in a couple of spots. So just a quick up, oh, and this low spot is also now out. So this feels nice and good. A little low right here, so it looks like I need to pull a little bit of a low out here. Yeah, she might be a little low there too. So maybe if I pull a couple of these low spots here out, you know, it'll help with some of this transition as well. So let me work on a couple more of these low spots. Now, the one thing I did purchase, I'd mentioned it, was this 9-inch shrinking disc from Daggar. I'll put the link in the description for this. And unfortunately, you're supposed to use a 7-inch grinder. I only have a 4.5-inch, so it works really nice. You know, I've read, you know, put some marker on the panel, right, where you're working to help so it'll kind of glide it, give it some lubrication, if you will. And it's doing a pretty nice little job. So I'm going to hit this area up some more here. It will not pull a low spot up. It'll only help, you know, shrink a high spot. So I need to work these low spots up, remove this paint, and then, you know, if there are high spots, we'll work it. And then I want to work this some more with that shrinker. And then we got to do all this to the other side as well. Well guys, other than needing a little work here in the wheelhouse, yet I would say this panel is about as good as my skills will get it. You know, the upper panel, it feels really good. The lower panel feels real good. This, you can still feel a little bit of a, you know, where the two panels meet just ever so slightly. You know, there might be a hair of warpage there, but man, it feels really good to the hand, at least. Hopefully when we get this in some high film build primer, maybe a skim coat of body filler, you know, we just gently, you know, go over this area with sanding, you know, we'll never know the difference. But it should only require a skim coat, hardly any filler at all, I would hope. So I'm going to call it quits on this panel, except for now, you know, taking care of these rust holes that I got to fill and grind down. All right guys, as you saw from some stills that I took, this is the passenger side panel now. So we're gonna come over here and work this one for a little bit. So first thing I'm doing is starting to take a file to some of these high spots, because again, this is where he kind of welded through from the inside of the quarter panel to the outside when he was welding in those Pro Street wheel tubs. So we'll work these down first, then we'll get a grinder out in a little bit and I'll grind down this. We're gonna have to do a patch, you know, in this area, and then we'll do a lot of planishing and hammer dolly work in this area, see if we can get this a whole lot smoother, you know, for just a very low, you know, light skim coat of filler. There's a crease here we'll work out, and kind of some low spots you can see real obvious there, and then, you know, work these dents out. And this is a real bad low spot here that we got to bump out. So I'll take some pictures of the progress along the way. All right guys, so just a little update on this quarter panel. It's looking real good here. Need to do a little shrink there yet. The crease is pretty much gone. This is looking pretty good. It's not too bad. Probably put the shrinker on it again and just smoothing it out just a little. But right here we have a problem. You can see I'm gonna cut this here, see if we can pull this out, you know, and kind of clamp it down and make it a lot more flush, because it's a big gap. It had come all the way out to here, you know, and I have to do a lot of work. So I figure I'll just cut it, pull this out, make it more flush. Right here I've got a big bump, and the reason I have a big bump right here and I cannot get it out is because I forgot right here, you know, this trunk trough piece, I guess I'll call it, right here, he cut it. It's supposed to extend all the way out and attach to the wheelhouse out here, and welded it to the quarter panel right in this area. So I've got to cut this piece out so I can take care of the quarter panel here, smoothing it, give it a nice radius. And then, you know, when we get the new, I did purchase a new trunk trough pieces and new floorboards. The floorboards are in that big box. These other pieces will be here, I don't know, maybe the end of August if all goes well. And yeah, that's what I got to do. And I need to work this area. This area turned out pretty decent. I need to shrink it a little bit more. You can still feel a bit of a high spot, but it's not bad. You know, so it's getting close. I need to do a little welding here because it's all boogered up, and try to grind this a lot smoother and give it a much better appearance. And this is pretty much gone. Get this out of the way. You know, there's just a little bit there. I may give her one more shrink and call that quits. All right, guys, so pretty well the quarter panel is done. You can still feel a little bit of the ridge. You know, we'll just do a slight little bit of filler. And, you know, when we do the high film build, we'll just take our time and, you know, sand it nice and smooth and even. And, you know, hopefully we'll never know that's there. Got a little work to do there still yet. You know, this is pretty smooth. There's still a couple of little high and low spots. We'll let the high film build primer kind of take care of that. That turned out okay. Not completely happy with it, but it feels really good. So we'll see when we get to sanding it, and, you know, just a little bit of filler work there, but, you know, should be just skim coats. And that turned out really good over here as well. So overall, guys, I've got both quarter panels pretty much done. The only thing I have left to do to this one is that there, and I don't think you really want to see that, but, you know, guys, just a lot of work. I will say this, you know, this, you know, shrinking disc got a lot of use. I would definitely get a 7-inch grinder. This 4.5 gets extremely hot. I have a fan that blows on it when I'm not using it to cool it down, but this shrinker works really good. You know, and then basically, guys, I just use, right, slamp hammer, dolly, you know, some flat discs. You know, I've got let's see, over here, a couple more, you know, hammer dollies or hammers, you know, just to kind of slowly work this. I am not an expert. As I mentioned, guys, I'm not an expert. I don't want to show you guys how to properly do it because I'm learning how to do it. There's a lot of better auto body guys out there that you can watch, you know, how to do hammer dolly work. This video was mainly to show you that, you know what, I've never done this before to this extent. I've done little dents, you know what I mean, but never, or full quarter panel replacements, but never tried to salvage a quarter panel, you know, with this much damage. And I'm pretty happy how it turned out overall. Like I said, I got a couple things I got to touch up. You know, we'll do a few skim coats of filler, but it shouldn't be like 1/4 inch, like you know, thick filler. It should just be thin layers of filler, you know, just kind of massaging it so the body line is nice and smooth, you know, and just a few little high-low imperfections. So the next thing to do after this, guys, is to deal with that mess underneath there. You know, when the previous owner did the wheel tubs, you know, they cut a lot of the structure out. Now I need to cut out the stuff that he did so I can put the structure stuff back in. That's the next video. Probably going to be very boring, but that's just the, you know, the next step in the process. And then hopefully soon after that we can start, you know, putting the wheel wells back in. We can start putting the, you know, the floor pan back there that I repaired in, and start, you know, putting the bracing back in, and, you know, then go over to the frame, get the frame painted and assembled and everything, so then we can bolt the body back onto the frame for rigidity. So when I go to cut the roof off, right, we've got a nice solid structure, and then we can do the roof and then the trunk pans and stuff. That's kind of the next steps. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching.